Welcome to CultureVille, a talk show that shines light on urban culture here in Middle Tennessee. I am your host, Bam, and today on the show we have another winner of the Cypher Tournament, Izzy Rage.
You're watching CultureVille.
What's up, Izzy? I'm so glad you came on the show.
Thank you for having me, ma'am.
And I gotta say, you were one of my faves. Your energy level is all the way on top. It's like Izzy Rage, a character, or
Yes, Izzy Rage is a character. So Izzy Rage is a hyperpunk warrior. So he comes from this place called Alpha, and I'm not gonna spoil too much. I'm sorry, I'm saying too much.
So tell me, like, what's the name? What's the meaning behind the name Izzy Rage?
Izzy Rage. So rage, high energy. It means revolution. It means hyperactivity, right? That's what Izzy Rage means. And
your show is very hype.
Always hype. That's the #1 goal. I want people to come to my shows, listen to my music, and essentially I want them to face their demons swinging a knife. I want them to get rid of all their anxieties and just take all that negative energy, all those intrusive thoughts that's been building up in their heads, and I want them to get it out of my shows and just have a good time.
Wow, okay. So I know this, you're a military kid and you moved around, but how long have you been in Middle Tennessee or Nashville area?
So I've been in Middle Tennessee for 3 years. I moved down here to attend college at MTSU.
Okay.
But yeah, I did move around a lot as a military kid, which gave me a lot of life experience. I met a lot of people, been in a lot of places, and so my music and my art, comes from a lot of different experiences, collectivizing them, and sharing my perspective about life.
I'm a military kid too, and I think I always say that had a big influence on my career, on my style, because you learn to talk different ways when you move to different places, and everybody slang, you can kind of bounce around.
And I will say one thing, being a military kid, it does kind of have an effect on what your identity is, and you start to question that every place you move to.
Because you get to start over and be whoever you want.
That's right. and Izzy Rage was very much a blank slate for me. Like when I moved down to Middle Tennessee, I was like, okay, I'm finally out on my own. I get to choose my own destiny. I get to choose the people I'm around, the places I'm at, and so it was really exciting for me to come down here and be a part of Nashville hip hop.
Awesome. So you produce your own music, even though you won the Cypher Tournament. You were up there freestyling, and I thought all MC. Like, how long? When did you start? Is producing the forefront, or is it about the artist?
Producing was a start. I feel like I've always wanted to be an artist back when I was a kid. 3 years old, I would sit on my mom's patio and I'd just take a baseball bat and kind of sing out to an imaginary audience and stuff like that. And so I started to make my own music when I was about 10 years old. And then 10 years old, yeah. And as I evolved, I started to get more into the beat making side of things, and then I decided, whoa, I'm really great at making beats, let me focus in on that. And so for the majority of my high school life, I was focusing on the producing side of things until eventually I came full circle to start putting my vocals on top of stuff, because I realized my beats were so unique, were so high energy, I didn't feel like any artist could fit on them except for myself.
And you started singing on it, making hooks for yourself. Okay, great. So that brings me to, because what made you decide to enter into the freestyle tournament, or the Cypher tournament of the Cypher? Was that your first time getting out there and doing it that way?
That was my first time, and I have Yana Jones to thank for that, actually. Because Yana had invited me to the first Sunday Cypher I attended, and that's really where I met where I was introduced to the Nashville hip hop community. I entered as a producer, qualified to the final round as a producer, but Joseph, who ran the events, he invited me to come to the next events, and I brought along my collective Rage crew. Full of other artists, other really talented producers, XB Skeletor, Fishstick, Pradu, Audrey Rose, and Suki May. So I started to bring them to the Cyphers. And I remember Yana asked me if I wanted to enter as a producer or a rapper. And I already qualified as a producer, so she put my name in the Rapper's Cup. And when she called me up, I wasn't even ready to start rapping. I kid you not, because I expected to play beats that night. But she called me up, and I just decided to start freestyling, and then I became the first person in the Sunday Cypher series to double qualify as a producer and a rapper.
What? That's what I'm saying. Let's give it up. Let's give it. That was cool. Cause I was not, when I read that, I was like, he did have beats in the production one. Now that I'm thinking about it, but you were killing it. Like, I wouldn't have known that, you know, you had just got into it. Yana told me too that she had just started doing it. Your energy was amazing.
Thank you.
And you had that crowd presence.
Thank you.
So, okay, so we've been talking about the 50 years of hip hop, and you're only 20. So to me, you know, to you, 50, it's probably old, right?
Well, it's twice as old as I am.
You know, so like, how would you define the state of hip hop in your 20-year-old self right here today?
I see patterns of history. You know, I am 20 years old, so I haven't lived through, you know, the golden age of hip hop. I have studied up on it, and I have my manager Bliss had thanked me for that, because I knew as soon as I got into the scene, I needed to understand it better.
And he's gonna make sure.
Yeah, he's gonna make sure. 187 Blitz, man, my friend, my manager. I met him at my first Sunday Cypher, and I asked him like, hey man, I want to be a part of this. What do I need to know? And so he sent me a hip hop lecture series that I studied up on for a while. And so I got to see like the origins of hip hop and then kind of translated it into what I see happening today. So what I see happening today in hip hop is a lot of what was happening before, an unheard generation, you know, a group of people without a voice. And for me, that transcends any race, any culture, any geographic area. Now it's almost like the entire youth of our world are not being listened to.
Right.
And that's how we express ourselves through hip hop. And we face critiques a lot because of the content that we use, but whether or not it's something that's positive, it is stuff that we go through, that we talk about. You know, mental health issues, drug addiction, hookup culture, right? Whether those things are positive or negative, the content we talk about is positive or negative, it still exists.
But it's different for you. What your life, what happens in your daily life is different, because and you called it the golden age of hip hop. I love that. 'Cause I grew up in that age, and I think a lot of times the younger generation gets sort of taken down, or saying the quality of the lyricism isn't there, but you got to understand, you guys are using what you have, notice, between the generations. But you say it's basically you being able to express what's going on with you, with you guys now, which is what hip hop started off to be.
Yeah.
Or what its original intent was. To give words to people who didn't have voices at first.
That's right.
So, like, who are some of the artists that you started listening to or grew up listening to when it comes to hip hop?
I want to say my first introduction to hip hop was Eminem. I listened to him because my dad was a fan, and that eventually evolved into, like, Eminem and Linkin Park was kind of like what my dad had. And then I started to explore hip hop on my own, and so some of the artists that I grew up listening to as a kid were Tech-9, Busta Rhymes, Kid Ink, Lil Wayne. Kind of self-discovered those artists and took some of their influences. I started posting videos on YouTube back before posting videos on YouTube was a thing. I'm talking like 2010, 2011. I was 12 years old posting videos of me doing speed rap challenges on YouTube. So I was trying to imitate those artists at a very young age.
Tech-9 and Busta Rhymes?
Yes, I would do covers of Tech-9 and Busta Rhymes.
Wow.
I don't want to say I did them perfectly, but I tried.
I don't know if I would try that.
So those are some of the artists I grew up listening to. And then kind of more into my high school years, some of the artists that are still a big inspiration for me today would include Juice WRLD, Lil Peep, Scarlord, especially on more of the trap metal side of hip hop. I just like the way that they all kind of created their own subgenres, or at least were pioneers of those subgenres of hip hop, and they all faced that initial backlash and scrutiny of, whoa, they're doing something different, this isn't what hip hop is. And then eventually, as time goes on and their legacy cements, it becomes hip hop.
It becomes hip hop, exactly. I agree. So how would you define Izzy Rage's style?
Izzy Rage is hyperactivity and your worst intrusive thoughts.
Okay.
and I know
Take me down that road, okay?
I will. So one of the things that I dealt with a lot in high school was overstimulation, isolation, you know, being a military kid, adjusting to a new environment, very stressful. And so one of the consequences of that is having a lot of intrusive thoughts going on in your head, right? Mixed with the overstimulation, it's like you start to see a lot of things, I start to hear a lot of things kind of in my head going on. And so the only way that I can express that and find an outlet is through my music. Right, and so
it's like therapy. We will all
therapy.
say that it's therapy.
It's therapy, and there are two ways to make therapy out of music. You can either use it to help quell those emotions, or you can use it to expel those emotions. Izzy Rage is all about expelling those negative emotions, those anxieties, those intrusive behaviors, and I want to translate that into a healthy medium, you know. And so that's what Izzy Rage's brand is all about. Like I said, going to my shows, listening to my music, getting your anxieties out there and leaving feeling relieved.
So you're going to do a song on the B-side. Do you know what song you're going to do today?
It's going to be my first song I will release coming up very soon, called Wreck.
Wreck, okay.
Yep, Wreck was the first song that I recorded knowing I was going to be Izzy Rage. I had been producing a couple, you know, demos before then, but I came up with the idea of Izzy Rage when I made Wreck. And this song I recorded in my closet, and I had multiple family members come up to me and say, "Hey, you doing okay, man?" And I was like,
going on?
yeah. I was like, I'm
Did
making
you
music.
produce it as well?
I did produce it as well.
Okay,
I did.
okay, cool.
Yep,
Okay,
yep. And
cool.
so Wreck is a song about frustration. You know, it's all about, like, you know, life's a wreck, but I know that I'm gonna get through it, and it's just about kind of like overcoming that. Like, okay, I'm in a bad position. I'm letting unhealthy people into my life, and things keep getting worse. And Wreck is kind of just expelling all of that frustration, getting it out there, and kind of, I hope it's a song that people can relate to at the end of the day.
Cool.
I'm happy to be my kind. Speeding down the road, lucky just to be alive. Give another life away, had to feed my appetite. Back into my home, let you take another bite. Like, oh my God, tell me who you think you are. Oh my God, tell me who you think you are. Oh my God, tell me who you think you are. Who you think you are. Who you think you are. Sometimes I just end up confused when I'm winding down the clock, not a minute to lose. And I would pay the cost for whatever to excite you, to ruin my life so I have a song to write. And I'm not your friend that I can beat up from an angle. Never trust the wings upon another fallen angel. I would sacrifice the halo, I never let him live, but I would do it if you say so. And I'm happy to be my kind. Speeding down the road, lucky just to pay alive. Had to feed my appetite. Let you take another bite. Tell me who you think you are. Tell me who you think you are. Tell me who you think you are. Who you think you are. Who you think you are. Oh my God, tell me who you think you are. Who you think you are? Who you think you are? Who you think you are? Who you think you are?
So what is like your creative process? Like when you're, because if you're producing and writing, like I would feel like you're always, how do you separate the two? Do you produce a track and go back and listen and think, you know, that's for me? Or are you always, when you produce a song, it's never for you? You know?
The ideas come in my head immediately, bam. I think of back to when I was 5 years old, I would take pencils in class and I would think of an entire song with all the instrumental parts, with all the different sections already planned out in my head.
Wow.
And so when I make music, it's already there. And so usually the production and the writing kind of go hand in hand as I'm making it. Typically when I make a song, a certain word, theme, or emotion pops out. I write it down and then I start to tell a story off of it. What I like to do is I like to take inspiration from a lot of different media and life events. I'll watch an anime, or I'll listen to a song, or I'll go through some significant experience in my life, and I'll think, how does this make me feel? And then I'll write it down. I keep a diary for this reason. And then I'll start to translate that into sound. And that's my creative process.
Wow. So is there anything that just inspires you to make music and you're just like, all right, I got to go make a beat right now?
It's an escape. I've created my own universe in my head because there's a lot of things in this world I feel like need to change, you know, and the way to make the world change is to first create an alternative, and that's what Izzy Rage is all about.
Right. And I got to ask this question to you as well. If you could work with any artist, past or present, living or dead, who would it be?
Scarlord. Scarlord because Scarlord did it all himself. Are you familiar with Scarlord?
No, I'm not.
Okay, so I'll explain a little bit.
Did I look dazed and confused? Like, look,
Yeah. So Scarlord is he's a trap metal artist from the UK, and he kind of pioneered the whole like distorted hip hop sound that X hopped on, you know, in his advent. So he basically created his own record label, his own clothing brand. He shot his own music videos, did his own promotion, uploaded his own content to social media. Basically created an entire brand of Scarlord by himself and owns everything. And then because of that was able to release music like very frequently. I mean, he would come out with 4 to 5 albums a year because he had no label, no one telling him he had to do it certain ways.
I like him already. He sounds like me. That's me. I control everything.
And
but I like it that way.
Yeah, and I absolutely loved his sound too, is the overstimulation, the high energy that you can't get, you know, in ordinary genres. He broke so many rules, you know, and I love rule breakers, and that's why I would love to eventually make a song with him, and I pray I'll see that day soon.
I'm gonna go look him up. I like stuff like, I want to see who that is. I need to hear it too. What you're gonna do is gonna look at that camera, and then you're gonna tell people, how do we find out more information? How do we see the song when it comes out? How do we find you?
Well, you can find me on Instagram at Izzy Rage Music. You can also check out my beat store at izzyrage.com. But if you want to learn more about the artist Izzy Rage, what these wings mean, go to hyperpunkwarrior.com. That's where you can find out all about Izzy Rage, my collective Rage crew, as well as when I'll be playing shows. So much love, y'all.
Thank you so much for being on the show. It was like so good to meet you. I learned so much about you. Like, I'm in the. Can I be in the Rage?
Can you be in the Rage?
Yeah, what's the name of your, you have like a squad, what's their name?
Yeah, so the collective is Rage Crew.
Rage Crew?
Yes. Anyone who goes to our show is part of Rage Crew, absolutely.
I'm joining.